Hello. We're going to do some diagrams to help us understand that there are no versions of you. There are not really versions of you. And if you follow the video series up to this point, there are not an infinite amount of versions of yourself, or the idea of an infinite amount of versions of yourself are a little bit misleading or inaccurate. And we can make them more accurate by running through these diagrams. Hopefully by me running through these diagrams with you, you'll have a better understanding of the situation on hand. Okay, so we talked about if there are an infinite amount of versions of yourself, if there's even a nature of more than one you, a version of yourself. Okay, that's the same as also saying there are multiple amounts of you. Okay, or versions of yourself. So in order to have a multiple amount of yourself, okay, you need to have yourself. There needs to be some kind of origin figure, or at least something that represents a source so that it can be copied. Okay, so there's so we have a y for you. Okay, that's you. In order to have a multiple amount of you, y2, y3, y4, different versions of yourself, different choices that you could have made or whatnot. Okay, they have to all stem from here, okay? Because there are multiple amounts of you, right? They're not made up. That's the thing. They're not disconnected, okay? They're versions, okay? Alternate versions of yourself. They're tweaks, they're slight differences, or they're drastic differences. But one thing is for sure, they can't be so different that, that they become something else, because then that's not a version of yourself. All right, and that's just plain semantics. I'm saying, well, yes, it is a version of yourself. It was still connected. It's just, okay, well, then that's just saying that you and I and everybody is actually the same thing. And that's really cool if you believe that, because ultimately that is true. Okay, but we're not trying to get to that point yet. Well, actually, we are always trying to get to that point. However, let us stick to this idea first. Okay, so to have any version of yourself, okay, there has to be a yourself, okay? There has to be a you, so that there can be versions of it, all right? The thing that we then went on to understand is that inaccurate understanding is that each version of yourself, okay, is a different place, a different timeline, a place where you chose different things. Bear with me if I am talking a bit fast. I don't want the video to drag on or get too long, and believe me, it can. Mainstream or popular sci-fi, each one, okay, is as real as this place. Each one is just as real, okay? Each one has each one is a version of yourself where there could be the slightest difference, okay, or there could be something quite drastic. Here you're you're poor. Here you're not poor. I don't know if here you'd be a boy if you were a girl. Here I don't know if that's crossing the line and to the point where we're in our earlier example where we're now at G. Okay, we can leave that up to yourself. Okay, but the thing is that, all right, none of these places are actually another world. That's a misunderstanding of the idea. That's a misunderstanding of the mathematics. That's a misunderstanding of the behavior of matter. That's a misunderstanding of the behavior of reality and existence. And I'm going to show you why. Okay, I'm going to show you why. All right. Let's understand that. Okay. This source of yourself equals all the choices that you did make, okay? All the choices that you did make, plus all the choices, okay, that you didn't make. Plus all the choices that you could have made, plus all the choices that you couldn't have made, whatever and however you want to describe it. But the important thing is to understand that, okay, the you, the full accurate value of yourself, the full accurate value of your equation, of how I would fully describe you, if I would fully represent you, and think about this logic, think about how it makes sense. If I was to most accurately, okay, represent you, I would do so by describing all the choices you have made, all the choices that you are making, plus all the ones that you could have made but didn't, plus all the ones that you couldn't have made. All right? We're starting to get an idea. All of this, okay, goes into the actual you, okay? Not just this one, all right? It folds. Okay, it folds the probability field of yourself, and all of these then, okay, uncurl in a different place, or all of these see themselves through somewhere else. Hogwash, hogwash, all right? You're not separate. You're not just the choices you made and nothing else. The same way, okay, it would be inaccurate. I cannot describe, okay, the choices you made without the environment that comes with it, without the circumstances that come with it, without the conditions that come with it. Do we understand that? All right? I can't even describe the choices you make without a heap of other things. Okay? Which is all getting at the idea there is no separation. Right? So, the you that actually, any one specific you for any one given moment is really you plus all of these. And these, okay, even though when we're talking about some of even if we were to talk on the quantum scale, okay, even if you wanted to coincide with the folding of realities and just maintaining or highlighting one out of all the choices, that's fine, okay? If you want to say that these realities, okay, the particles, the energy, the probabilities that come with them are curled up, all right, in this, or that they're indeterminate, or that they're indefinitely in a particular range, but we can't actually nail them down, or we can't measure their location, okay, without actually bringing them to here. That's fine too. I don't care. All right, that's all fine. The main point that I care about is that you cannot describe them as curled up or indefinite places somewhere else. They're not somewhere else. They're right here. They're right in here. They're not outside of this. Okay? If there is a you, then it is impossible, okay, for any version of yourself to be outside of the you, because then it would not be you. All right? Let's move on. All right? So we got this idea, correct? All right? Let's move on to the next thing. Let me help give you some evidence for why, okay, I believe this is true. I don't just believe this is true. I worked this out. I followed the science for many years. I watched when it moved from something pretty realistic to something fantastical. And I'm not saying that fantastical things automatically mean, that they're not true or whatnot, but it was a little bit shocking, so I started spending extra time investigating and understanding the equations so that I could see how they have been interpreted and exactly who was doing the interpretation. Okay? Here's a great example of why we can understand that the multiple amounts of you, the infinite possibilities, the parallel worlds, okay, all of that stuff, that's fine if you'd like to use those set of terms to represent whatever you need to represent when it comes to our reality or whatnot. But remember, the most important thing that I need you to understand is that those places are not somewhere else. You do not need to go to some other dimension, so to speak. You don't need to go to some other place, some other world. They do not occupy in a whole nother entire universe. All right. Here's why. Okay. It's very simple. All right. If there is a you, all right, and let's say y2 and y3 and y4, all right, those are versions of yourself. All right. Let's say you believe, or we start at the premise that each one of these versions of yourself is in some other universe, okay? A parallel or multiple universe, all right? Watch this. feel this with me. I need you to feel this with me. I need you. If there's one thing that I am consistently displaying across the board when it comes to these videos, these video logs, okay, is an understanding of a particular logic and reasoning. A fundamental one, a common sense one, a one where we read between the lines. All right? A one where we look at that which must always be the case regardless of the relative parts, regardless of the terms that might be relative. Okay? The behavior is not. Or at least we're looking at the behavior which is not. Okay? Take a look at this. All right? These are all versions of yourself. Get it? They're all versions of yourself. So let me ask you this. Let's say yourself, okay, let's say the fundamental construct of yourself that maintains your identity. Let's say it's A, B, C. Okay? This is you. This is the A, B, C. All right? These are particular versions of the A, B, C, which is you. Okay? How does this, okay, keep that consistent? All right? How does that remain consistent? How does this maintain your face or maintain any version of your face if each one, okay, is truly separate? You understand? You see? Even if we were to describe them as having the energy, as having the molecular, or as having the quantum makeup, which is just as good as saying that they are in another universe, it does not matter. Because so long as it is a version of yourself, it is linked here. Okay? It has to be linked here because it's a version of yourself. So these all have some kind of consistent, okay, or some kind of conserved or maintained property enough so that it equals the identity of yourself. In our example here, what is that amount? ABC. This could be ABCDEFG. This one is HIJK. This is LMNOP. ABC, LMNOP. But the one thing that remains constant is the ABC. Because if it's only AB, okay, it's not you, it's somebody else. But it's not somebody else, it's you. All right? And where does this, okay, where does this get scripted? Where does this get its blueprint from? Where do these versions get their direction, their directive from? Where do they get their order? How does this know to be any kind of version of this, okay? If it's not connected to this, if it's truly non-linear, if it's truly separate, and it's not, because it's a version of you. It's not separate. Do we understand that? So in order to maintain the properties enough so that it qualifies as you, a version of yourself, it has to be connected to the source. It has to be connected, or even if you don't want to describe it in terms of a source, they all, okay? Why one? They all have to be connected. They all share something. So I don't care what dimension, okay, D4, D5, D6, I don't care what dimension you want to put these things in. I don't care what parallel or multiple universe or multiple world or multiple reality you want to put these versions in, okay? They're always going to be connected here. They're always going to be connected to each other. Therefore, okay, I think it's just as accurate to start. I think it's beneficial and it can be quite accurate to start understanding that rather than thinking that there is an infinite amount of versions of yourself, all doing their own things, okay, all places where you can go to, I think it's time to understand that all those versions, okay, are not really like here. And this is what I've been working on. Okay, starting where what we need to do is it's fine. It's a progression, right? It's a progression of understanding and awareness. We need to start moving away from the infinite, okay? The infinite possibility one. It's brought us a lot of good now. We've made amazing progress, but we need to start moving away from that now. We need to start evolving from that, okay, to the absolute nature. It's time to start putting our foot down and saying that there is an actual, okay, there is actually a present tense, all right, there's actually a you, there's actually a source, You are a focal point. There is a focal point of you. There is a hub. There is the main. There is the main where everything else, okay, varies or fluctuates. But that fluctuation, okay, is always you. There is another thing that people describe, and you're going to hear this, and this version is quite accurate as well. Okay, this version, this type of understanding is also accurate, and that's okay. The cool understanding, and it is based on the idea that even though we can describe, okay, particular relationships, particular scales, particular interaction in terms of dimensions, we certainly can. We can apply dimensions to anything. Anything can be a dimension, all right? For you, that's making constant different choices, okay, you are jumping to those different timelines and places. You're jumping to them all the time, from moment to moment, with each choice that you make. So in this sense, once again, they're not other universes. They're not other worlds, all right? Or if they are worlds, then it's all one. It's all still under one. And you're constantly jumping from one back to the other, depending on the choices that you make, all right? And it's not just you. So this is just the start, okay? It's not just about the choices you make, it's about the choices that everyone makes. It's all amazingly and beautifully connected. Hopefully this little diagram and this little this review that I did, it gives you a great idea of how we should start looking at a lot of things and stuff like that. Let's stop moving from, okay, what should have been, could have been. Let's move from the fact that because things look so vast, I'm inconspicuous and I'm just small and insignificant. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. There ain't an insignificant thing in this world. There's no such thing as insignificant. Okay? Complete manipulation. Actually quite a subversive, okay, term. Right? And get it out of your head. There's no such thing as insignificant. Everything is significant.